All right, so, we're diving into something that's been on everyone's minds, right? Especially when the weather heats up.
Oh, yeah,
It's those cooling mattress systems that are getting so much buzz.
definitely.
I mean, who doesn't want a good night's sleep, especially when it's hot out? And we're not just talking about feeling cooler, but actually sleeping better. So for this deep dive, we've got a ton of research on these systems. We're looking at three in particular: 8, sleep, ChillPad, and BedJit.
Okay.
And what's really interesting is that they go way beyond your basic temperature control, using some pretty high-tech stuff to actually improve sleep quality.
Everyone's been there, right? Tossing and
Right.
turning all night when it's just too hot.
Tell me about it.
And it's not just about comfort. There's actually a scientific reason why we sleep better when we're cooler.
Oh, there is. So it's not just me being picky.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It all comes down to this thing called thermoregulation.
Thermoregulation.
Yeah, it's basically how our bodies regulate temperature. And get this, our core temperature naturally drops as we prepare for sleep.
Okay.
So if something's preventing that from happening, like a warm room, it can really mess with our sleep cycles.
That makes a lot of sense. So that's where these systems come in, right?
Exactly. They help create the ideal temperature for sleep.
Got it. So let's break it down, starting with 8 sleep.
Uh,
I've read a bit about it, and it seems like the most, I don't know, the most high-tech of the bunch.
yeah, 8 sleep is definitely the most advanced in terms of technology.
So how does it actually work?
Well, it uses a water-based system, so chilled water circulates through all these tiny tubes inside a mattress bed. It's kind of like a personal AC just for your bed.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. But wait, wouldn't water in a mattress feel, I don't know, weird?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But it's really well engineered. The tubes are so thin and the water flow is controlled so precisely that you don't actually feel any water.
Huh. Interesting. So it's like those water pipes under the streets, but miniaturized in a mattress.
Pretty much, yeah. And the temperature range is incredible. It goes down to 13 degrees Celsius,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cold.
13 degrees. That's chilly.
Right. But it can also heat up to 43 degrees, so it works year-round.
Well, that's smart. So it's like having a heated mattress and a cooling mattress all in one. But what about, I read that you can set different temperatures for each side of the bed.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the coolest features. No more fighting over the thermostat.
Right. I mean, my partner and I are always battling over the temperature.
Exactly. It's a game changer for couples. Plus, they have this AI thing called autopilot that learns your sleep patterns and adjusts the temperature throughout the night.
So it's like a sleep coach in your mattress. But I'm guessing all this fancy tech doesn't come cheap, right?
Yeah, it is an investment. 8 sleep systems range from 25.45 to 15.47 euros, depending on the model you choose. But they do offer financing, if that helps.
Okay, good to know. So that's 8 sleep. Now, what about ChillPad? I read that they focus more on like the health benefits of cooling, right?
Yeah, Chillipad uses a similar water-based cooling technology, but they really highlight those health benefits you mentioned, like deeper sleep, pain relief, and even help with hot flashes.
Right. So it's almost like 8 sleep is going for the smart bed angle, while ChillPad is more about targeted benefits.
Exactly. They've got settings specifically for menopause symptoms and stuff like that. It's really tailored for those who need that extra help with temperature regulation.
That makes sense. And they also have an app, right, to control everything.
Yeah, you can control the temperature, set schedules, and even use their warm awake feature.
Warm awake. What's that?
It's pretty cool. Instead of a jarring alarm clock, it gently warms up the bed to wake you up naturally. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be way more peaceful.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Okay, so we've got water-based cooling with 8 sleep and ChillPad. Now for something completely different. BedJit, right?
Right, BedJit's totally different. It uses air instead of water.
Air, so it's like a fan under the covers.
Kinda. It circulates cool air directly under your sheets.
Huh, interesting. Does that work with any mattress?
Yeah, that's one of the good things about BedJit. It's compatible with any type of mattress, even adjustable beds. Some of the others can be tricky with those.
Good point. And I read something about their biorhythm technology. What is that exactly?
It's similar to the idea behind 8 Sleep's AI, but it works a bit differently. BedJit's biorhythm mode has pre-programmed temperature curves that match our natural sleep cycles.
So it's like it's designed to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer.
Exactly. Deeper, more restful sleep.
Mm.
And the story behind BedJit is really interesting too. The founder actually came up with the idea because his mom was having trouble sleeping after surgery. He wanted something to help her feel more comfortable.
Oh, that's a great story. So it started with a personal need and turned into this whole company. That's awesome. And how does BedJit compare price-wise to the others?
It's actually a lot more affordable. The BedJit costs around 430 euros, which is significantly less than the other two.
So it seems like, so far, we've got a system for every budget and sleep style. But what if someone's not ready to invest in a whole new system? Are there simpler things they can do to sleep cooler?
Definitely. There are loads of simple tips and tricks you can try. We actually put together a whole list of resources with budget-friendly ideas.
Perfect. We'll definitely share that with our listeners. But before we get into that, can we talk a bit about the more traditional cooling methods, like fans and AC? Why aren't those enough for some people?
Yeah, that's a good question. Fans and AC can definitely cool down a room, but they have some downsides when it comes to sleep.
Like the noise. A fan whirring all night can be super distracting.
Totally. And AC can be really drying. It sucks all the moisture out of the air, which can irritate your skin and sinuses.
And sometimes they're just not that effective, especially during a heat wave. A fan just blows hot air around.
And AC can struggle to keep up too, so that's where these active cooling systems really shine. They offer much more precise control over the temperature, and they're a lot quieter.
Right, so they're not just about cooling, they're really about creating the ideal sleep environment.
Exactly. They help your body reach that optimal temperature for deeper, more restful sleep.
And potentially even solve some of those late night thermostat battles.
Exactly. No more arguing over who's too hot or too cold.
Yeah, that's a dream come true. But, realistically, these systems probably have some downsides too, right?
Of course, nothing's perfect. There are definitely some things to consider before investing in one of these systems.
Okay, so let's dive into those potential downsides. Maybe they're noisy or use a ton of energy.
Those are definitely things to think about, and then there's the question of whether they really live up to the hype.
Yeah, do they actually work as well as they claim?
Let's take a closer look and see what we can find out.
Yeah.
One thing that comes up a lot is energy consumption, right? People wonder if these things are going to drive up their electric bill.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially with all the tech involved, like water pumps and AI and stuff.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a lot, but actually, they're pretty energy efficient, especially when you compare them to running the AC all night.
Really? I would thought they'd use way more energy.
Nope, the technology is surprisingly efficient. Like the 8 Sleep Pod Pro, even with all its fancy features, uses about the same amount of energy as a regular light bulb.
Oh, wow, I had no idea. So that's a plus for sure. But what about noise? I'm a super light sleeper, so even a little hum can keep me up.
That's definitely something to consider. Some people do mention a slight humming noise, especially with the 8 Sleep because of the water pump.
Right, that makes sense. Is it like noticeable?
It seems like it depends on the person. Most people say it's very quiet and easily drowned out by other sounds,
Yeah.
like ambient noise.
Is it probably quieter than a fan then?
Yeah, much quieter than a fan. Okay, what about maintenance? Do you have to, clean them or anything?
Yeah, good question. I'm not exactly the most handy person.
Well, it depends on the system. The 8 Sleep does need some periodic cleaning, like the water tank and the tubes.
Oh, okay. Is it complicated?
Not really. They give you clear instructions, and it's not a super frequent thing.
So not like a weekly chore or anything.
Right. And Chillipad and Bedjet are even easier. Chillipad, you just need to refill the water tank every so often, and Bedjet, you just clean the air filter every few months.
So pretty manageable overall. Okay, so we've talked about energy use, noise, maintenance. What other downsides are there?
Well, some people worry about leaks, since some of these systems use water.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Have there been any issues with that?
We did find a few reports of leaks with the 8 Sleep, but it seems like they've improved the design in the newer models to prevent that.
Oh, good. What about Chillipad and Bedjet?
Those seem to be pretty solid. Haven't seen any major complaints about leaks.
Okay, good to know. So leaks, not a huge concern, especially with the newer models. What else?
Let's see. Oh, some people have this concern about becoming too dependent on the system, Like, what if you get so used to sleeping with it that you can't sleep without it?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like, what if you go on vacation or something and you don't have it?
Exactly. It's not like it's addictive or anything, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, you don't want to become reliant on it. Maybe it's good to have a backup plan, like those budget-friendly tips we talked about.
Exactly. Those can come in handy. So, do you want to talk more about those?
Yeah, let's dive into those. What are some things people can do to sleep cooler without buying a whole system?
Okay, so one of the simplest things is just choosing the right bedding. Natural fibers like cotton or linen are way more breathable than synthetic materials.
Right. I switched to a linen duvet cover a while back, and it's made a huge difference.
It really does. And another tip is to make sure your bedroom is well ventilated.
So, like opening the windows at night.
Exactly. Let that cool air in. And even if you don't have AC, a fan can help circulate the air.
Yeah, I've heard that putting a bowl of ice water in front of a fan can help cool things down too.
Oh yeah, that's an old trick. But it works. It
Yeah.
creates a sort of DIY air conditioner effect.
Nice. I'm gonna try that. What about those cooling mats and pillows? Are those worth it?
They can definitely be helpful, especially if you're on a budget. They usually use materials that absorb heat or have cooling gels in them.
So they're not actively cooling, but they give you that cool sensation.
Right, it's more of a temporary thing, but it can provide some relief.
Okay, so we've got ventilation, fans, ice water, cooling mats. And I guess taking a cold shower before bed can help too.
Oh yeah, definitely. That can lower your body temperature pretty quickly.
Okay, so lots of good options there. But even with all these tips and tricks, I'm still curious about those high-tech systems. Are there any other concerns people might have besides the ones we've already talked about?
Yeah, there are a few other things that come up sometimes. One thing that some people are concerned about is EMF exposure.
EMF, like electromagnetic fields.
Yeah. Some of these systems, especially the 8 Sleep Pod Pro, with all the AI and wireless stuff, they emit a low level of EMF radiation.
That's interesting. Is that like a health concern?
The research on EMF is still kind of mixed. Some studies suggest there might be some risks, but more research is needed.
So it's something to be aware of, but not necessarily a reason to avoid them altogether.
Right. And then there's the question of whether these systems are safe for people with certain health conditions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, what if you have a heart condition or something?
It's always best to talk to your doctor if you have any concerns, especially if you have any pre-existing conditions.
Makes sense. And what about pregnant women?
Same thing. Pregnant women are often more sensitive to temperature changes, so it's best to check with their doctor first.
Okay, so always good to consult with a doctor if you have any doubts. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We've really delved into the pros and cons of these cooling systems and explored some alternative options too.
We've definitely done a thorough job. But before we wrap up, I think it's important to remember that technology is just one part of the sleep equation.
Right, it's not just about buying the fanciest gadget.
Exactly. There are so many other things that contribute to good sleep, like stress management, exercise, diet.
Oh yeah, all the things we're supposed to be doing anyway.
Exactly. And your sleep environment plays a big role, too.
So it's really about taking a holistic approach to sleep.
That's the key. It's not a quick fix. It's about making sustainable changes to improve your sleep quality overall.
Okay, so as we move into the final part of this deep dive, let's shift our focus to those other aspects of sleep hygiene beyond the tech.
Sounds good. Let's explore all those things we can do to create a truly restful sleep environment.
It's funny because we've been talking so much about temperature, but when I think about a good night's sleep, it's not just about being cool, right?
Oh, definitely. There's so much more to it.
It's like that feeling of just sinking into bed and everything's, I don't know, just perfect.
It's that whole environment, right? That
Yeah.
feeling of calm and relaxation.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we create that? It's got to be more than just the temperature, right?
Right. It's about all those little sensory details that make you feel relaxed and ready for sleep.
Okay, so like what kind of details are we talking about?
Well, think about like a spa, right? What makes you feel relaxed there?
Okay, so like dim lights, calming scents, maybe some soft music.
Exactly. And you can totally bring those elements into your bedroom.
Okay, so like aromatherapy.
Exactly. Things like lavender or chamomile are known for their calming effects.
Right, I love lavender. So maybe a diffuser by the bed?
That's a great idea. And then there's light. Dimming the lights in the evening can actually help signal to your body that it's time to wind down.
Oh yeah, like that whole blue light thing, right?
Exactly. Blue light from screens can suppress melatonin production, which makes it harder to fall asleep.
Got it. So screens off before bed. And then what about, I've heard about those smart lights that can mimic the sunrise.
Oh yeah, those are great. They can gradually brighten in the morning, which helps you wake up more naturally.
That sounds amazing. Way better than my jarring alarm clock. So we've got aromatherapy, lighting. What else?
Sound is another big one. Some people need total silence to sleep, but others find white noise really helpful.
Oh yeah, I love white noise. It blocks out all those little distracting sounds.
Exactly. There are lots of apps and machines that can create different kinds of white noise or even nature sounds.
It's like creating your own little sleep sanctuary. But with all this technology, is there a risk of becoming too reliant on it?
That's a valid concern. It's important to find a balance and make sure you're not becoming dependent on gadgets to sleep.
So maybe it's about using technology to help you create a good sleep routine, but not letting it take over completely.
Exactly. The goal is to develop healthy sleep habits that work for you with or without technology.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, this whole deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening. I've learned so much about the science of sleep and all the different ways we can create a more restful environment.
Me too. It's amazing how much research has gone into this and how many options are out there.
Right, from high-tech cooling systems to simple things like dimming the lights and using aromatherapy, there's really something for everyone.
Exactly. The key is to find what works best for you and prioritize sleep as part of your overall health and well-being.
Absolutely. I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners. So, as we wrap up this episode, we want to encourage you to explore all the resources we've shared, do your own research, and find what helps you sleep better.
Sweet dreams, everyone.
Sweet dreams.